Back here on First Things First, and we are going viral. Anthony Davis said all 29 teams are on his list this offseason as he wants a trade. If you are looking for the best way to win him over, make a custom pancake that looks just like his face. What do you think? Wow, that's really good.
That's incredible.
Those look good. Who is it?
Antonio Brown.
Yeah. Antonio Brown got a full fur coat. Bold. Strong.
Incredible.
They got a
You
little
have a fur coat?
butter and syrup on it? No, I don't. I have coats that have a little fur around the collar, fake fur, faux fur, but no real fur.
I'm not mad. I'm impressed. No, I do not. I just want to make sure.
I've got about
You had to double check?
They have fur?
You could pull it.
Real fur?
3 full fur coats.
You could pull that off,
If you believe that.
Oh, okay.
Time for some stories to start your morning. Lincoln Riley had high praise for his former quarterback, saying Kyler Murray has kind of a Barry Sanders effect. Doug, is this fair praise?
Actually, look, I'm an Oklahoma State guy. You don't normally you're like, keep Barry Sanders' name out of your mouth. On the other hand, there are some similarities there now. Remember, Barry Sanders was only a starter for 1 year at Oklahoma State. He's a backup to the Terminator, Thurman Thomas, right? How about that backfield? It's an expensive backfield back in the day. Anyway, yeah, he has. The best parallel I've heard is Doug Flutie with Mike Vick's athleticism. That's probably more who I think of him as, but he is that type of explosive. He does make people miss. Baker Mayfield told me at the Super Bowl on a radio show that he thinks he'll run a 4.2 40. So I can't wait. 4.2. And he said yesterday, the last time I ran a 40, I ran a 4.3, and I think I'm faster than I was back then. So yeah, I don't think it's a crazy. It's a crazy. He doesn't make you and put you on skates like Barry Sanders does, but he is that kind of.
And he's not a running back. I mean, but what Lincoln Murray meant was he's elusive. He can avoid the big shot, which will help him as a quarterback because obviously he's not going to run as much as a Barry Sanders or a running back. But when he does run and he doesn't slide, when he maybe needs to get that extra yard, if he can brace himself, move his body at a certain angle, and avoid the really clean shot, that'll help him well, especially at his size.
I will warn you, when you get to the NFL, you don't get faster. Everybody else does.
You could see it with Lamar Jackson.
Yes, he ran away from everybody in college.
To the NFL, Matt LaFleur has a big task ahead of him, bonding with quarterback Aaron Rodgers. The Packers coach reportedly plans to hit Rodgers from all angles this offseason. Chris, how much pressure is on Aaron Rodgers after a tumultuous 2018?
He didn't have a great year, so he's missed the playoffs the last 2 years. We know he was injured, of course, but you look at his numbers. Everybody talked about Tom Brady's numbers going down. His numbers were a tad bit better, depending on how you look at them, than Aaron Rodgers. So I do think there's some pressure on Aaron. He's starting to get some criticism, which he's never really gotten in the past. Why aren't you winning more? Are you really the best guy we've ever seen throw the football? I think with Matt LaFleur, clearly Rodgers was bothered by a lot of the play calling and the game planning under Mike McCarthy. So if Matt LaFleur can really impress him and wow him with some of his schemes and some of his game plans and things like that, formations, then I think Aaron will buy in if LaFleur can do that.
Oh, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be forced to buy in. This is kind of his legacy is at stake. How do you want, now you have the biggest contract we've ever seen. How do you want to play? I think he's motivated. The best thing I heard from Matt LaFleur is Aaron Rodgers wants to be coached. That's the big challenge for guys at this level. Do you want to be coached? Do you want to learn from somebody, work with somebody who comes in with a different perspective? I think he wants to be challenged. I'm excited to see what Aaron Rodgers has to do because think about how the season started. The big deficit to the Bears coming back from injury, comes back in the second half and wins. But after that, they collapse.
You were expecting a huge year. He was my MVP pick for the NFL, too.
Speaking of coach-player relationships, back to the Lakers. Much has been made of the relationship between Luke Walton and LeBron James. Amid reports, James's associates haven't been happy with Walton as the head coach. But Luke told TMZ, quote, LeBron and I get along just fine. Chris, do you believe?
Well, there you go.
TMZ gets all the facts.
Well, first of all, of course, what's Luke going to say when TMZ corners him? However, I do think face-to-face, man-to-man, they're fine. LeBron doesn't in Cleveland, in Miami, here with the Lakers. You know, he's moody sometimes. He may have bad body language, but he doesn't do the dirty work. Like, what are the reports? His associates, you find out as an organization what LeBron thinks by talking to his associates. And that's how the word gets out. It's not like LeBron was sitting down with David Griffin in Cleveland, coming up with trade scenarios. Let's go after this guy. Or, you know, obviously he'll have maybe a different relationship with Magic to some degree. But I believe, Luke, I'm sure when he and LeBron interact, that it's good.
I would agree with you, and based upon the people I know, they say the exact same thing, that LeBron tries to do what Luke wants. You know, he doesn't, the previous reports of him blowing off play calls, like, no, if he sees something, he does it. If not, he does what the coach wants. But I do think that the point you made is a good one, and the more we've seen LeBron operate, with the exception of when he bumped shoulder to shoulder with Eric Spoelstra in the first year, for the most part.
Wasn't that an accident?
Yeah, yeah. It was also an accident when he just happened to mention to Pat Riley, hey, you ever think about coming back and coaching, right? And then Pat Riley kind of stood up to him quietly and said, no.
That's what you need.
That's what you need. But that's not what this organization has done. And I think it's fascinating. Look, Michael Jordan pressed a lot of buttons. He did not like management. He did not like the trades they made. He lost it when they traded
Charles. He didn't
like
the triangle at first.
They didn't like the triangle. He didn't like Charles Oakley. You're not trading away Charles Oakley, my protector, for medical Bill Cartwright. Didn't like that. But he did not fracture the team in the way that LeBron has fractured this team, where they believed before injury that he was all in on them and they were all in on LeBron, that they were going to work kind of together to ultimately add a free agent. And then once the leak started, that you had the one where his associates told you he could play if it's the playoffs. Like, wait, he's not playing. He's not working out around us. The workout times kind of changed. That all of a sudden they started to think, wait, forget our interaction. Whatever he does behind the scenes is how he really feels, and there's a lack of trust there. And that's going to have to be earned, I think, by the young guys. He's going to have to earn some of their trust as a teammate and a friend in order to get them past this finish line and get them to the playoffs.
LeBron can get down if he doesn't think he has enough help. You know, it wasn't like that initially. When he was in Cleveland his first go-round, he was all in on that team. We know they didn't have great players around him, but they won 66, they won 61, and he sees we get bounced in the second or the third round of the playoffs. Then he starts getting superstars and winning championships. And so now he believes that I know what it takes to win a title, and if he doesn't think he has it, he can sulk. And that, I think when he was sitting there watching them play, and they're 6-12 without him, or 6-11, you know, he missed a game since he got back. I think he lost some faith in them. Not that that's right, because you as the leader, you can't sulk. And if you're the best player in the world, you have to feel like I can carry these guys. So he may have to fight some of his own instincts to be the leader that they need and not sulk for these last 25 games.
And Sarah, that honestly is a little bit of what Scottie Pippen was talking about. Where you're like, look, Scottie Pippen, some of the shots sound a little bit more personal, and that he's supporting Jordan or whatever.
Well,
but if you talk,
Scottie got calls when he said like LeBron was ahead of Jordan and stuff like that years ago.
Right, and then like, look, you got Isaiah.
The narrative changed.
Well, then you got Isaiah, who's on team LeBron because Jordan and him hate each other, and Jordan kept him off the dream team, right? So there's some baggage there. But when you start to unpack it, this is what the guys around, this is what Kobe's people will talk about. This is what Jordan's people talk about. Like, dude, if it was Kobe, if it was LeBron, if it was Kobe, if it was Magic, if it was Jordan, they're going to fire every bullet in their gun, in their arsenal, in order to win. Whereas LeBron does have a tendency to shut it down, sometimes mid-season, to get a coach fired, to get a player moved.
Think about what he did last year. I mean, I think we often overlook with the tremendous, legendary playoff run we saw. He sulked all through January until we got to the trade deadline.
Yeah, he sulked, and I think he was coasting too. Like, look, we talked about it earlier. 16th season, all those playoff games, all those Olympics, like, he's not what he used to be. You see it mainly on the defensive end, but he has to coast to be able to be as explosive offensively. But yeah, some of it's mental as well.
But I think Luke gets a lot of the blame, given what has happened this season undeservedly.
Luke should not be, like, the thought that he would have been fired at the trade deadline or, you know, at the All-Star break was terrible. He is being made and will be made ultimately probably the scapegoat.
Yes.
For LeBron, for the front office, the young players.
Not getting enough shooting, no question.
Speaking of the offseason and what happens, we're going to move on to free agency talk. And two of the biggest targets this summer are Kyrie and KD. And rumors have it that rumors have heated up after a behind-the-scenes video was released of them talking at the NBA All-Star game. Chris, you buying that these two will team up with the Knicks?
Yeah, with Kyrie, I read his lips. Video. He was like, look, Kevin Knox, Dennis Smith Jr., we in the East, we going to be nice. Boston won't be the same without me.
And he turns and winks at the camera phone that's right in front of him.
No, but it's very realistic. Look, I'm not saying Kyrie's out of Boston. But I do think a lot of it depends on how this season ends. If they go out in the second round and they play, right now they're scheduled to play Milwaukee, you know, assuming the top seeds win. They will play Milwaukee in the second round, and I think Milwaukee, in my book, would be favored. So if they go out in the second round, is Kyrie or the other young players going to be able to accept that, hey, we went further last year in LeBron's East, even though it's better now, the still perception is it's wide open because LeBron's gone. We went farther last year. We beat Milwaukee last year. Now we have Kyrie. We lost to them. That could push him out the door. And while there are people, I agree with you, Doug, I don't think he's going to the Lakers. But there are people in the league that think it's either the Knicks or the Lakers. I think it would definitely be the Knicks. He's from the greater New York area in West Orange, New Jersey. And I don't think KD would go to New York by himself. I don't think he should go to New York by himself. And he and Kyrie are close, as we saw, but they're close friends as well. They will be talking. And here's the scary thing. If those two want to go to New York, and New York gets the first pick, or maybe even the second pick, you could offer that for Anthony Davis. Obviously, with Kyrie and KD, your timetable changes. You don't necessarily want to wait on a Zion Williamson to develop or whatever you think he needs to do. Maybe you just go get Anthony Davis, and you talk about a big three of Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and Anthony Davis in New York.
Could they do that?
Oh, yeah, they could work it out. They could work it out.
You can do anything. You have to shed the rest of the team. And Dennis Smith Jr., by the way, goodbye.
Right.
enjoy New Orleans and
right.
some beignets. Because I don't think Dennis Smith Jr. and Kyrie work together anyway. I mean, truth be told. Could it happen? Yeah. But, boy, there's a lot of, if ifs were fifths, we'd all be drinking, right? I mean, there's a lot that has to happen there. So it has to, those guys don't know. They don't know. One of the reasons I think Kevin Durant is a little bit tired of being asked about it is because, honestly, he's got no idea.
Right. And like you say, both of them.
I've got no idea because I don't know how this is going to end. We all assume the Golden State Warriors are going to win the championship, but the path to getting there, what's that like? Do they actually get there? What would happen if they lost? What would happen if they win? Like, there's a lot of scenarios. And then you have Boston. Like, yeah, they could play Milwaukee, but all those teams, in the middle are separated by a game. They could very easily get to the Eastern Conference Finals again and get to the NBA Finals if they figure some things out. So, and how is he motivated if they do well? How is he motivated if they do poorly? And are you betting on David Fizdale, who everybody likes and was part of those Miami championship teams, but he ain't been the head coach and winning anything, right? It was before the collapse last year in Memphis, and now this year.
He had a nice little run that one year in Memphis. With what did he say on the?
Yeah,
take that
for data. Take that for data. Yeah, but then he also stopped getting along with Marc Gasol, and that's why he lost his job.
Yeah,
and they start right, and that's where they start. So, look, I like Fizz.
I think Fizz is a good coach.
Everybody thinks he's a good dude, and I think he's a pretty good coach. But you got Brad Stevens. You got kind of bird in hand is better than one in the bush. So let's see if Brad Stevens impresses him in the postseason, where he's like, whoa, I'm in on Brad because it's. Playoff Brad is like playoff Flacco. It's a little bit higher level than everybody else. Anybody who says they know right now, I believe is lying. They want their opinion heard because those guys don't know. They may think it's a cool idea, but cool ideas and does it actually happen? There's a big gap between the two.
Even talk around the league, when you talk to GMs and executives for other teams, they're speculating because nobody knows for sure what these guys are going to do. And as much as I said yesterday, I would love to see KD try to win 4 straight in Golden State, assuming they win this year, and then go to New York or something. But 4 straight is tough. There's a reason nobody's done it since Bill Russell, because not only the physical challenge of doing it, but mentally, the fatigue. And we've already seen tension between KD and Draymond Green. Like, does this group even want to come back together for a 4th run at a title? I don't know. So I think, though, Doug, I think I'm a little more, I guess, optimistic would be the word, that Kyrie and KD do end up in New York than you are.
I think it's also interesting that there was a story about the possibility of Jim Dolan selling the Knicks, which he shot down, because there is some feeling still in the NBA, even though he has nothing to do with basketball, right? One of the things he did a couple years ago was like, that's the mistake with Phil Jackson, when he's like, I'm hiring the best, let them run it, and Phil Jackson ran it into the ground yet again. But Jim Dolan has nothing to do with basketball, but he did have, he got into it with Charles Oakley, and that was ugly. And I think there is that sense where, do I want to go play and make Jim Dolan some more money, or do I not? The other part that I think is interesting is, I'm not sure I would trade Zion Williamson for Anthony Davis.
Really?
I mean, look.
If you had those two?
I have those two.
Oh.
Because Zion Williamson.
Because I wouldn't do it if I didn't. If I don't get a free agent, I'm not trading Zion for Anthony Davis.
Obviously not. No question. He's a meal ticket. They put $1 billion into that arena, and he's going to fill it every night. But if you think of who he really is, he's not LeBron James. What he is if you took Draymond Green and you gave him the athleticism of Blake Griffin early in his career, and then you gave him a little bit of Charles Barkley in his ability to kind of score in and around the post, and a little bit of LeBron's kind of some of his ball handling, but he's not LeBron James.
Great player.
LeBron James. That's what he could be. That's
no question.
And in 2019 into 2020 and beyond, NBA basketball has changed. If you go back 10 years ago, 15 years ago, he would have had to go down a position. He would have had to be a 3 in the NBA. He's a 4-5. He's Draymond. He'll play 5 when you play small ball. He'll play 4 with your starting lineup. And to me, in addition to the fact that he's a highlight film and he plays both ends of the floor, don't get me wrong, Anthony Davis is a better player right now, but in terms of fit for those guys, you don't need anybody else who needs the basketball. Those two guys, you play with one ball, it's going to be I go, you go. And he already plays without the basketball with Duke. That's the great part about it. He doesn't have to relearn how to play off the ball. That's how he plays now. He'd be perfect with those two. Plus, he'd fill up the arena. Plus, he'd help you at the defensive end. I wouldn't trade the rights to Zion Williamson for Anthony Davis.
I would. I mean, look, you make a good point. Those are solid points, and Zion could win with those two. So maybe they wouldn't do it, but man, Anthony Davis is only 25 himself.
I know, it's amazing.
And you already know what you're getting.
No, I know.
Right, because as much as I like Zion and you like him, and I haven't talked to one person in the NBA who hasn't said he's the consensus #1 pick, we still don't know for certain.
Yeah, we don't know if he can lose weight. We don't know how much he can play at that weight. We don't know what it looks like in the NBA range. No, it's all fair.
Kyrie grew up a Nets fan. Why didn't no one want to talk about these two coming to Brooklyn?
Come
on.
I'll throw this out.
Give Brooklyn a little love. They could clear 2 max spots.
Stop it.
Obviously, he's better than their guards, but they do have guards. Like, they would take Kyrie, obviously, over those guys. He could beat them out. But if I'm looking at that team as a free agent, I'm like, do I want to go there as a guard? We need other pieces. I'm sorry about that. But
no, don't be sorry.
They're playing.
I like Spencer Dinwiddie.
We'll keep going. Coming up, could LeBron's injury keep